Now, once again, as we are about to just dive into the absolute mess that two of the biggest names in rap have created, and their fans are not gonna like what I have to say, and especially the Drake ones. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe before we go any further so everybody can hear how Travis Scott's new album just took an awful turn right after dropping, and Drake has created quite the mess after finishing out Wireless Festival. And now, with this said, well, now, when it comes to the entire state of hip hop right now, well, now, when you look around and see how the Iceman is trying to melt off, and also see how Travis Scott is trying to get in the booth and rap, things are just an absolute mess. And really, when we see what is surrounding both Drake and Travis right now, after Drake just finished playing 3 straight nights at Wireless Fest, well, what we can say is that the longest lasting impact that the last name Lawbury, first name Lamus made with this show is this debate and divide that he has created, all to show where he is standing now, which is of course with the only area that has showed him any sort of support since the beef in none other than the UK, as of course Drake made comments during the second night of his performances here, and said that the UK has the best lyricists and that they rap and are just the plain out better MCs than the US ones, and even his own home of the Six. And with Drake doing this, well, he has created an absolute mess that is about to make the US-UK rap beef that Skepta is bringing to Joyner Lucas and also ASAP Rocky even bigger. But now, while Drake is trying to get ready to grift UK rap to get clout, and that is why he is leaning into this so much, as these awful debates are happening because of Lawbury about which region has better rappers and specifically lyricists, well, unfortunately, as a result of Drake getting ready to grift UK rap next, people are now sitting there and having to explain why JID is a better lyricist than Central C, or how we just have Kendrick Lamar and the debate ends right there, because no one in the UK can compete with Kendrick or even like 20 other MCs if we're really being honest on their worst day bar for bar. And to be honest, this is why with Drake's take, it is so bad and it is so clear that he is just pushing back on the US, because the rappers here have proven that they are better than him and they are fine without him in his presence, and he has been rejected more on hip-hop's home soil more than anywhere else. From the people to the industry to rappers as a whole, everybody has just told him to get out. And now, while for the UK, they just got the new face of their movement to try and claim the top spot in hip-hop, because this has been something they have been trying to do in a sense, because now a very big name in Drake is pushing for a narrative that they want to have the title of so bad. Let's just be real, this is an overall ridiculous and embarrassing move by Lawbury to do everything other than just make good music and actually be a respectful person in hip-hop culture who was following the rules that all of the great MCs ever have. Because let's even give Drake the benefit of the doubt for a second and say that he is talking about current rappers and not legends for the sake of the argument. Well, even with this still, is he really going to sit here and tell us that Dave, Central C, Skepta, J Hus, and those guys are collectively better and can out-rap Kendrick Lamar, JID, J. Cole, Freddie Gibbs, Tyler the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, Joey, Absol, and so many others? Because seriously now, while there is a few really great writers in the UK like Dave and Little Sims and Loyal Carner, when you actually look at the collective picture and see who Drake is really talking about here, which again is not an artist who is talented like Sims, but it's just stars who he can solicit fans and features from to try and boost his image and get a sort of friend that he can get an idea from, because he clearly does not have a lot of those. Well, overall, when you look at all this, it's another lame move from Drake that I am sure is gonna just end as bad for him as every other thing he has done in this time. But now when we look at this entire debate that Drake has been trying to make a push for and just change things with this awful UK and US rap beef that's starting, now when we move past all of the annoying debates that Drake fans are trying to annoy us with and just look around in hip-hop culture and see how it's moving right now, well, now to be honest, while we can sit there and argue about all this, if you just see what's going on right now, you will see this debate end quickly. And the reason why this is all comes back to the latest cultural defining turning point in rap music that is making the losers due for another crash out that unfortunately we have to see right in this moment. And what I am referring to is being caused by none other than the Clipse, because with their new album and the impact it is making, what we are seeing with premier lyricists who just wreak more fear in not just other rappers but entire labels and even pop stars like Justin Bieber about what they are capable of, because even he put up some stuff which was crazy about them, whether he was fully aware and intended it or not. Well, again, what we are finding out with the reaction and all of the people who are against him is that there are tiers to this entire rap thing, and within the culture, the premier lyricists like Kendrick, Malice, and Pusha T have never been more in demand, and their words have never ranged stronger, because with what they are affecting, well, again, they're not trying to move the hype beast and machines, but with people who interact with and are fans of hip-hop and everything around it, and even with other rappers themselves. In terms of all of these aspects, the game is changing with their incredible all-time great new record, and what the biggest indicator of this really is all comes down to the face-off we are seeing between Pusha T and Travis Scott, and then the Clipse record and Travis Scott's brand new Jackboys 2 album. And now what we are seeing with these US artists is that after trying to compete with a peak lyricist from this side in Pusha T, well, for Travis Scott, who is seen as a superstar in the industry and recently in terms of popularity was right behind Kendrick and Drake for a few years, he really may be done, because after releasing this new album in such a pivotal time, well, based on the early reception from the fans and hip-hop to even what the numbers are showing for Travis's standards, overall the record is facing a lot of problems and is falling off on a level that looks pretty bad right now, because with an artist in Travis, as he just put out a 17-song project to try and just begin this new era of his career and also make a large statement in a time in rap where after the Kendrick and Drake beef, few rappers have really been able to even find success because the bar has been set so much higher and most of the stuff that is dropping is just so unessential that nobody even cares. Well, as a result of this, what we are seeing is that with the rapper who in 2023, when Kendrick was in a period of hiding after Mr. Morale, and then Drake was tiring out rap with the same old mid that he was getting away with over and over again, well, in terms of the numbers, with Travis and Utopia being the biggest things then, well, now what we are seeing is that from the numbers, which are a massive decrease so far, to the discourse and response from the culture, which just feels so much smaller than anything Travis has done really since coming onto the scene. Again, things are just not looking good, because with a 17-song album in this era, while now Travis debuted with 35 million streams, which is not bad if we were looking at almost any other rapper. I mean, again, as Travis has been seen as a numbers generator and who industry executives literally said was the biggest market mover in hip-hop aside from Kendrick Lamar after the beef happened, and they were the only two people who could make any sort of real impact in the genre with their music. Well, overall, this is a massive step back for a guy who is seen as a numbers generator in a lot of ways, and this is a massive drop off however you want to look at it, and overall what we are finding out for Travis Scott is now based on this happening. Well, it isn't good, but this record is shaping out to be a flop on a level, because to come off the run of Astroworld, Jackboys 1, and Utopia, which all did massive numbers and had massive songs on them, and then come back with this record, which manages to just be as big as the regular solo albums but lacks literally everything, and that's why it's stuck here? Well, overall, with how bad and unlistenable this record gets after the first few songs, and with Travis Scott's horrendous Pusha T diss, which makes him look like more of a joke, because in this time where lyricism is more in demand than ever, at the end of the day, for a 35-year-old man to call a 48-year-old man old and have that be the diss and that be the entire point, I mean, this is just whack, and it's a bad display of everything for Travis Scott. And now again, as Travis has been a numbers guy when it comes to how this record, which has about 50% of the vocals straight from him, which is about what Utopia had, it's not that far off. But what we are seeing is that despite his presence and having all the bundles and 7-song vinyls ready to get those first week numbers up, as of course Travis is the biggest bundle merchant in the game, well, it's still losing the numbers game to Justin Bieber in pop, and in hip-hop, it's losing the impact game to Clipse. And now while the counter-argument to the issues with this record and lukewarm reaction for Travis is that these albums are label showcases and all that, so it does not matter. First off, as Jackboys 1 was 7 songs, and with that small amount of tracks, it still did over 150,000 first week. We are seeing that excuse cannot be taken seriously when you see how, with Travis Scott building this record out into a full 17-song album where majority of the tracks he is on, well, he wanted to make this thing the biggest album he could, and for all intents and purposes, more than the first Jackboys album because of how many songs he has and how many are here. Well, this is pretty much just a solo Travis Scott album with a bunch of features, kind of like something like Jay-Z did with the Dynasty back in the day, and now while with the first Jackboys record, it was filled with massive hit songs like Gotti with Pop Smoke, which was amazing, or Out West and tracks like that, but what we are seeing with Jackboys 2 and why the record is struggling is that it does not have any moments that capture the magic of what a group label album should be, nor are there tracks where Travis Scott is really doing anything that is positioning him as a real leader in hip-hop at the moment in the dot era, and when there is a classic level album that just dropped days before it, which is again why outside the hype beasts, the Clipse album is still dominating the conversation as the layers of the verses and detail in the production and narrative are making each listen more fun. Meanwhile with Travis, I mean, there are moments where guys are literally screeching random noises and are just yelling in auto-tune in your ear incoherently, which again makes this record not just mediocre, but pretty bad and unlistenable at times as an overall body of work. I mean, again, when you just see this, you realize that this thing is way too long and the features are honestly terrible. And outside of Don Toliver, really, everybody's just kind of annoying to hear because they just exist in this space of mediocrity and unoriginality. And with this record just feeling like this, what I think is important to understand is that it's not just a result of the times changing in hip hop, although that is not helping, but it's also because of Travis Scott directly, because in a way, and this may sound wild, we are seeing a turning point for him start where things are about to get very bad. And it's not just because Pusha T may have a diss track ready to change everything about him or anything like that, but it's because for Travis Scott, and this is what we are seeing on this very album, in a lot of ways, he is done, and this is because while the Jackboys gave him this big group to try and aura farm with, outside of Don Toliver, who does have a great voice for hooks and stuff like that, the rest of these guys are not that good, and to be honest, what I've been saying since So Be It is that Travis Scott has cemented himself as the worst hip-hop artist with genuinely quality albums before this, and what the difference is now between all of these last records, which ended up working and having great moments, and what we see here, is that Travis Scott's biggest trick has ran out because of the way his circle has shifted and people have turned on him, and that is simply the fact that Travis has nobody left to give him ideas anymore, and more talented artists who he can take their scraps from, and now let's just run through it. Well, from T.I., who was big on his first two mixtape and was one of the 3 executive producers on Rodeo, to Ye, who also executive produced Rodeo and on Astroworld and Utopia, well, he didn't just let him sample songs to make tracks like 90210, but then with both of those albums, many of the best moments, and especially Utopia, were literally just tracks that the man who should have retired after releasing Donda did not put on his albums, and that's what fleshed out these records and made them so great. Well, without these guys, and then with no Pharrell and with no Mike Dean, who made fun of the album right after it dropped as he said LOL and seemingly exposed how terrible Travis is to work with, and once again, that is reflecting in the final mix and final version of this record that we hear. And then again, even right now with Drake for Travis, no matter what you want to say about him, his petty crash outs were giving Travis 2 big time records in sicko mode in Meltdown, no matter how lame he was for going against 2 other guys who did way more for his career in these records. And overall, with none of these guys and no genuinely good features who again, Travis would take and mimic their style from to make a great track like we saw with Pop Smoke and Gotti from Jackboys 1. Overall, with this album, Travis Scott has exposed his biggest weakness as a rapper and artist, which is that from, well, a lyrical perspective to the album's entire direction. Without the dream team of people who he was able to be around because he was brought up right around both T.I. and then the good music system, well, he's kind of struggling now, and again, with no big songs on this album that are going to stay on the charts, and with an entire body of work from Arrival that just has more hype. And again, just to bridge the gap further, when you compare the stream per song on their opening day, you will see that the gap of how many people listen to these 2 records is really not that bigger for Travis, which is another L considering Pusha T is never making music for Fortnite collabs, but Travis Scott is. Well, really now for Travis Scott, this is all very bad, and he is in trouble, and there is no other way to put it. And now as a lyricist who could out-rap the whole UK, and Pusha T really may drop a diss track on him soon here as well, but we really may be seeing things get even worse from here. So with Travis Scott taking such a massive loss right now, and then with Drake as he is getting humiliated for just trying to join the UK rap scene and leave the US behind because he got rejected. Well, it's funny to see Drake and Travis just spiral at the same time, and now as both of these situations are bound to only have a lot more happen until we see where these latest failures are going. But what we are witnessing now is that with the pen back in the lead in hip-hop and the Clipse changing everything, well, these guys are just done for now, and I don't think it's going to get any better for them. And so now with all of this said, let me know. What do you think about the mess Drake just started with this US-UK rapper debate? And what do you think about Jackboys 2, its performance right now, how it compares to Clipse, and what do you think is ultimately going to happen with this Travis Scott and Pusha T situation as now their albums are competing? Now I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all of this. And now if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now if you want to see how right before this, well, at night 2 of Drake's Wireless Festival, he tried to diss Kendrick Lamar and it just came off very bad. And then also Travis Scott dissed Pusha T, and I break down how bad that diss was in even further depth. Check out the suggested video.